Today, I'm bringing you guys technically a character build. I mean, it's not really a character build, but it's actually a plain build for Ace Combat 7. So as the title suggests, this is probably the best overall build that I have found so far. As you can see, I've unlocked a lot of the parts. Honestly, these parts that I'm about to show you guys are probably the best possible parts out there for general purposes. Now, keep in mind, this is personal preference. This does not mean that you have to use these, but generally speaking, these are going to give you the highest possible general stats in the game. Note, some of these are going to be spoilers because they're unlocked via story mode, but nonetheless, this is probably the better version that I would suggest that you equip to all your planes. Now, generally speaking, the very first thing you're going to want to do when you unlock it is there's this part that you unlock via story mode called Queen's Custom, which increases all your speed, mobility, and stability, which is your three primary stats for campaign mode. Note, this is also for campaign mode, not multiplayer, so just keep that in mind. So, Queen's Custom raises your speed, mobility, and stability. That is phenomenal, so we're going to go ahead and equip that to my F2. Next, I'm going to come up here to this thing called ECU Software Update, which does the exact same thing as Queen's Custom. So what it does is that it upgrades your speed, mobility, and stability. So we're going to go ahead and equip that. Now that we've upgraded the two possible ways to upgrade your max speed, mobility, and stability, let's go ahead and equip the variable cycle engine. So what this does is that it increases your speed and mobility. And I find mobility more important than stability, honestly. Alright, with that out of the way, as you can see, that's only 16 points in body. The next thing what we're going to want to do is we want this thing called Automated Fire Extinguisher. Basically, what this thing does is that once you get above 50% damage, you start regenning the damage. So it basically starts to reduce the damage until you're at 50%. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to play on Ace difficulty. If you're playing on Ace difficulty, generally it's a one-shot kill on you if you get hit by a missile or two missiles. So this actually won't help you on things like Ace difficulty, generally speaking, for Ace Combat games. Hard mode, it might make a difference. Usually a missile hit will be about 47%. So you could technically survive multiple missile hits on hard mode. But generally speaking, if you're playing on anything lower than Ace and hard, you're going to want this because it just starts regenerating your health. So it's really important. After you equip that, once you do all that, you're at about 26. So generally speaking, that's about the maximum that you can throw on there for any of the higher level aircraft, which generally will have higher points. But if you have some space left over, what you're going to want to do is equip either the Light Blisk engine, or you're going to want to equip the cutting edge air brakes. Usually I'll just equip the engine and just call it a day. It just depends on how many points you have left, whether to go for the cutting edge air brake or the Light Blisk engine. Next, you generally will have about 3 slots left over, and you want to dedicate this to your weaponry. Sometimes you may want to go ahead and equip some of these. I generally stay away from the miscellaneous because they're really not all that effective. Probably the best one is gonna be either the, I don't have it yet, but there's one that supposedly disrupts your enemy's missiles, which will probably be the best special. I haven't gotten to it yet, so I don't have it yet. But that'll probably be a better one because it helps to enhance your defense. Generally speaking, the very first thing I'm going to go for, because missiles generally are pretty accurate, depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to go for machine gun only mode, this won't help you. But generally speaking, I go for the takeoff weight augmentations first. This increases your missile payload, which just effectively means you have more missiles. Because this plane has an LASM, I'm going to go ahead and take the special weapon. Now, if you're left with one slot left, generally what I'll do is I'll go for just standard missile enhancements. Generally speaking, if you go for the where is it? Looking for it. Directional proximity fuse. If you go for the proximity fuses, it increases your missile base damage. But for normal missiles, this really doesn't matter, because what ends up happening is that everything that would take 2 missiles to kill usually still takes 2 missiles. So increasing the damage to your missiles is almost pointless. So generally I'll go for something like not lock on range. Usually I'll go for standard missile homing capabilities, which just effectively means that your missiles have a higher accuracy. So generally I'll just go for that. So generally speaking, that will give you the highest base stats and give you the most effective thing during missions. Now, some of you are like, but Dratta, what about, you know, increasing special weapons and stuff like TLS and PLSL and all that? Generally speaking, for those aircraft where I am going to be using that, I'll actually dedicate more of my 3 weapon slots. So the science that I have it down to is always leaving about 2 to 3 weapon slots available for the best overall weapon usage. So generally, if I'm going to be using PLSL or TLS, I'll use these ones down here. So I'll use laser beam extender and the light condenser correction device. Will generally be my base for those. And if I have space, I'll put the high output laser. But generally speaking, the higher level aircraft, you generally don't have a lot of upgrade slots left over by the time that you get done upgrading the aircraft. So let me show you guys some of my aircraft stats here. So that's me upgrading my F2. As you can see, that's its base stats, which is actually significantly high. Let's take a look at something like my Su-57. So my Su-57 right here has the light blisk level 1 variable cycle engine ECU software update with Queen's Custom and auto fire extinguisher. So what this does is that if you look at its stats compared to like my X2, they're very close in stats. And the X2 I have is built very similarly to my Su-57. So if we look at like the Su-37 and then we look at the 47, they're so close in stats and they're all built that exact same way. My Su-30, look at that mobility and speed. Like, that is really high for that tier of aircraft. I haven't upgraded this yet, but so I'm currently going through and upgrading all my aircraft and stuff. But if you look at this F-16C here. Look at that speed. Compared to this F-15, this F-15E that hasn't been upgraded yet, look. Like, it's already up there. Almost, it's faster and more mobile than a base F-15E. So, when I upgrade that F-15E, it'll be significantly better, but the first aircraft in the game stats with this build is actually significantly better on speed and mobility, which makes it really good for different missions. Like I said, stability doesn't really matter because I've found that stability, all it does is that it just makes it easier to control the aircraft, which if you know what you're doing, it basically just increases the response time, and that's not as important because you can deal with lower stability. But the mobility allows you to, it helps in dodging missiles and getting into position better. So I always did prefer mobility. Speed just it determines how fast your aircraft is, which is actually really helpful because you can actually outrun missiles if you go full throttle down, being chased down on a missiles or whatever. So as you can see, my Su-37 is equipped with TLS parts, but only 2 of them. And it's got pretty high stats. Like if you look at my Su-57 here, the Su-37 isn't far behind because of those parts, but you know, it's just those are going to be the better parts for you. Once again, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. This is Dratta Arcana. If you are looking for any more of my videos, you can look on Dratta Arcana on YouTube. If you're looking to contact me, you can contact me via Dratta Arcana Gaming on Facebook, or you can contact me via dratta.arcana@gmail.com. And as always, guys, no but Dratta comments. That's probably the best builds for your aircraft right here, right now. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So long.